Many of you were probably present in the last webinar, which we did on energy capex projects. Today, we have our second webinar in the series, which is about active energy management. My name is Erik Weytjens from EFESO Brussels. In a few minutes, we will introduce all the speakers for today. A few topics today. The main ones are introducing active energy management. How do we define active energy management? Secondly, we will make it tangible through a few very impactful examples from our work. And the third point is then zoom in on what we see as key factors of success for implementing successfully active energy management in your companies. Let me start with introducing myself. So Erik Weytjens, I'm a principal in the Brussels office of EFESO. We work since many years together with a partner company, DB Energy, for everything which is energy related. And I'm in EFESO, one of the people in investing quite some time in energy projects. With me is Robert, who will introduce himself.
Hello, indeed, my name is Robert, and I'm busy a lot with energy management projects on the shop floor of factories.
And Piotr Danielski.
Hi, my name is Piotr Danielski. I'm CTO of DB Energy, and I'm running mainly the topics concerning energy efficiency with our team as a partner of EFESO.
So this is as I said, the second webinar in our series. We did last one on energy capex projects, how to identify the best energy capex projects, which led to quite an interesting discussion. And so today it's more about managing energy on a daily basis in your operations. Maybe a little zoom in on what we do in the field of energy for our clients. And it's a lot, and we're not going to talk about all of that today, but so it's good that I situate it. We help clients with zero emission strategy deployment, net zero emission strategy deployment. That's at the strategic level. So that is where often it starts. On the other side, company-wide sustainability mobilization. So to get to real results in terms of sustainability energy, it's important to mobilize your organization. So these are the two, let's say, all embracing teams. And then there are more specialized teams. We work often in the field of energy efficiency or decarbonization and in the field of energy efficiency, the focus for today is plant energy efficiency optimization. What can you do in your daily operations in your factories to go after all energy efficiency possibilities and that there are available. So today, focus on that in a much broader piece of expertise and experience on which we help our clients.
Okay, now a quick introduction into active energy management and also why it is important to act upon energy management right away. In the first webinar, we showcased the huge potential that could be achieved by performing a plant walkthrough. In this webinar, we're going to highlight the huge potential of active energy management. Active energy management all starts with continuous monitoring. You need data, because without data, you're blind, you don't know where you are, and you don't know where you are heading to. And it's also very important to not only include your process engineers into this exercise. You also need your maintenance team and your management support to do this. Extremely important is that you also include your operators into this exercise. Active energy management really is a cross-functional domain, and you need all those different expertise domains to collaborate. You need hierarchical alignment to deliver a really qualitative project. We say in most companies that they do not struggle with the technical issues of active energy management, but rather with the collaboration between teams. Why is it important to do active energy management right now? You can see that from the timeline shown here. There is a lot happening, starting with the Green Deal in 2019 a lot is accelerating on legislation landscape. We see in the new pre-agreement that an energy management system will be seen as an obligation. So if you already have to implement an energy management system, why not directly take the most out of it? There are two very obvious reasons why you should start right away with active energy management. The first one is competitiveness. We all have seen the extreme energy prices. And we also all are aware that we need to reduce our carbon footprint right away. Also, the market will demand you to be much more flexible with your energy consumption in the future. In the legislation landscape, as you've seen in the timeline, there is also a lot happening. You will need to implement a lot. So if you have an active energy management system in place, you'll be able to benefit even more out of it. Next to that, we have two other reasons. You are much more attractive to new customers and employees if you are a sustainable brand. And the same holds for investors. If they see that you are implementing an active energy management system, they will see that you practice what you preach. Now we can go to some really insightful cases to make this all some more tangible.
Thank you. This is the part that we would like to show how introduction of active energy management system can benefit on the typical things that companies do while investing in energy efficiency or while trying to put as much pressure on using the data that they have, but without practical tools and without the overview of where the project can go, it is quite difficult to do. So the first, it's needed to set what is an energy management system and what we can call an active energy management system. Probably most of you know, seen, used maybe typical energy management system, which are basically working on collection data from measuring devices, have some visualizations. Sometimes it can be something closer to SCADA system. Sometimes it can be something which is more looking like the ERP system. But in general, most of this are not working on some common KPI, which is for energy NPI, energy performance indicator. What does it mean? It means that you got all the data, but actually, if you are going to be asked for some simple questions, in most cases, you will be still blind because you will be not able to relate to the whole company or to the general cost of energy, of course, in annual matter. When we are talking about active energy management system, this is something that can be action-oriented. What does it mean? It means that we will be able to set up the KPIs, NPIs, for the real needs of your operation, which are comprehensive with your strategy and which are showing exactly this points which can lead to make an impactful decision. While we are showing this, we can say that it can benefit on equipment optimization. It can show you failures and powers and costs of operation of devices. It can influence process optimization by influencing production and maintenance needs. It can, of course, be a part of demand response system, which enables you to use the power management system. And of course, it can benefit on behavioral change that you can actually monitor, because of course we can put everywhere labels for switch off, but we know that automation of this kind of processes is much better and works better. Now we would like to go to the next slide with optimizing of the real installations. We have 3 cases. First of those is the case coming directly from our customer who wants to upgrade his installation by installing denitrification system, which is called Denox. This is the system that actually cleans out the fuel gas from the NOx, and it can unfortunately bring some bad things to your installation. While most of the DENOX system works on the boiler houses with big capacity, etc., it's not always common that the companies who are selling the DENOX systems are taking care about the small load of the capacity of the boiler house. In this particular case, the average load of the boiler house was something around 20%, while the minimum of the DENOX system to work correctly is something around 30%. What does it mean? It means that to operate, it will force the boiler to work more. The capacity will rise from 20% to 30%. In very, very general, fast-thinking analysis, you would say, well, it's only 10% it rise from 20 to 30. But if you have a special KPI for measuring the megawatt hours of fuel per ton of utilized steam, you will see that this NP will rise by 50%. And this is very significant rise. The key results of this finding would be to actually act, and act in the meaning of showing directly installations that can be put together with the DENOX system and will allow to lower this cost by this 50%. And of course, this means that you need to have this NP set and you need to see and model how it will run. But with the proper energy management system, which is active, it will also act on the stage of the design of the new installations. With another case, can we move please forward? Yes. With another case, we are also able to optimize the installations where all of the parameters are already controlled. All of the measures are already done, and everything seems to be very good. The case is about the pumping optimization. This is an optimization of the pump station where we have a number of sets. I believe there are six sets of pumps. One pump working in a constant speed, and the second pump working as a variable speed controlled. What does it mean? It means that one runs with 100% of capacity, and the second one is used for regulation of the flow and pressure. In here, we have very professional team. They have monitors. There is a person who controls the parameters all the time, but they do it manually. What does it mean? It means that they are looking on the gogs, they are looking on the parameters, and then they are manually trying to pump as low as possible to fulfill the needs of the process, but without making it working too much. What is not predicted in this scenario, it was that the pumps are working very good, but just to have this 50% of the load of the pump with the variable speed controller. What does it mean? It means that if we were trying to move below 50% of load, it starts to work inefficient. How to put an NP in here and how to make a nice example out of it? Well, to actually find out that the pump is working on the low parameters, operator should make this little equation in his head and find out that the efficiency of the set of the pumps is going down. What does it mean? It means that it will not happen. So without this value being directly given on the monitor, he's not able to determine if he already exceeded the minimum pump point of operation of the pump, although he's acting good, so he's trying to lower the consumption of the system or not. In this particular case, putting in an valuable NP showing the value of energy consumption per cubic of the pumped water and the given capacity enables us to show the savings of almost 20% of the energy given by the pump. This is very valuable because you could say that there was just a cherry on the top needed for the system, but you can see how fruitful it was. The next case will be given by Robin.
Yes. Thank you, Piotr, for this really insightful cases. Luckily, it doesn't always have to be that complex. In this use case, we also made use of continuous monitoring. We saw that there were huge losses in energy consumption by machines that were activated, and there wasn't even any production planned. So what we did is we simply made a dashboard to visualize all those losses. With the dashboard, we had the ultimate tool to communicate between management, operators, and engineers. Because the idea came from the engineers, they needed to communicate it to the management, and the management then needed to communicate it to the operators. The solution of this exercise really was a change in behavior of the operators. It was their mindset that needed to be changed into a more sustainable way of thinking. Here we see that the cross collaboration really is important because many of the times in one of the communication paths, it goes wrong. By this simple trick, we already achieved a 20% decrease in overall energy consumption. The energy management system helped us with visualizing the data, but we did not only visualize it, it was used, people acted upon it. So that's the big difference between an energy management system and active energy management, because you are active with it. The main takeaway here is that it is not always very hard, and it's not always a technical issue, but rather some small things in a daily behavior can make a huge impact in energy efficiency. Thank you.
So with this general introduction in the subject and the impactful examples, we hope that we all in this conference call, we all have the same idea of what active energy management is. Let's now zoom in on the key factors of success to implement it successfully or to accelerate it successfully. Before sharing, excuse me, I'm trying to change. Yeah, before sharing our own views on this, we would like to capture quickly a quick capturing of your own experiences with the subject. And so please take out your mobile phone. We will do a small polling session, which I'm going to introduce now. So the question which we ask you is, what would accelerate your deployment of active energy management? And we will give you a few themes we believe are important and ask you in the feedback, so please scan the QR code or go to menti.com, use the access code. And so you will get that question there again. And we ask you on your feedback on the different options that are being presented. And I will switch to the feedback screen and see what we see arriving there. I will switch in a minute, so you're not too much influenced by what you see already appearing on the screen. Very interesting, I would say. Very interesting. Thank you for this. Oh, it's still moving. Excuse me. I can wait another 1 or 2, another 10 or 20 seconds, let's say. So you want to respect the time. But thank you very much for this feedback, which is really interesting. So I would say it corresponds to what we see. Obviously, that the four dimensions are very important, say, critical factors of success. what I see in your reactions is that the expertise in metering and digital is maybe slightly less of an issue today than the other three, and I think that's normal. Of course, this is not the first field of digital and metering which you will be introducing in your operations. This has been going on, the digital revolution, since quite some time, Industry 4.0. But what we see also is the need for a clear strategy, a strategy that can mobilize the entire organization between what headquarters often announce to the outside world in terms of commitments of the company in the field of decarbonization, in the field of energy. Takes quite a long time to mobilize everybody on the floor. So that clear strategy that can be communicated well is critical. Then in the field of digital, and we will zoom in, we also see that it's not about metering and capturing all sorts of data. It's capturing the right data and doing something with it, translating them into decision power data, I would say. And then the leadership, yes, we can only agree, right? Leadership has an important role to play, I would say, in all fields, obviously also in this field, which is still fairly new in many operations. Let me go back to the slide presentation. So maybe in summary, what do we mean with active energy management? What we believe are maybe, what is maybe not. Okay, there's the ISO 50001 certificate. Yes, it is important. Yes, it's part of an active of energy management. But will the certificate make you reduce your energy consumption by itself? No. Is energy management a boardroom matter? Yes, also, but not only. It's not only about large cogen plants and large heat exchange. It's not only that. It's not limited there. What we see often is high-level monthly cost reviews, lagging indicators. Obviously, it's not that. You want to put energy as a daily concern in the operations. And then the reports, whether it's the monthly or the boardroom, are then often disconnected from the daily operations. People are talking about energy, but are not paying attention to the small things you can change in your operations today. I would say the real challenge is systematic metering, tracking. From the data, do something with it. Do something with it which is accessible to in your control rooms or to your operations, and which is made simple so people can act upon it. And then acting upon it, it's also analyzing data. So active energy management is acting on a daily basis and is analyzing the whatever phenomena and differences you see in measuring points and from what data analysis over time or comparing among plants, analysis of the data. Operators are highly concerned by managing energy on a daily level, and alignment of objectives, right? So from the boardroom, from the corporate to the shop floor, making sure this is a priority. The closer you come to the operations, the more there are other priorities, of course, capex expansions. Capex expansions being one of the main ones, but in production you have all the different KPIs. So it's important that everybody agrees on where energy fits in and how it fits in everybody's own objectives and in the performance dialogue. So active energy management, the word active is really important. At EFESO, we look at performance as improving performance as the sum of two things. Our clients in this call will recognize our infinite loop. So it's about the daily control. You can only improve if you control things on a daily basis. That's the left side of the graph you see in front of you. And once you reach on a daily basis what you have set as targets, then you can start to improving it. Then you can look at how can we improve those targets, what are the losses we see, and how can we then start the Kaizen teams to improve upon them and improve our standards. So also for energy is just another KPI like the others, and so energy needs to be managed in the same way. What is important? It's about setting up the right process to do so. Connect the management objectives, connect the KPIs to the shop floor reality. Make sure the important things are captured: the idle time, the ramp up, the leakages, standardization, having your design parameters of your equipment known, and manage your equipment to the design parameters, have your maintenance teams so it has lots to do with process, how you look at energy. In that, where do you prioritize? So of course there will be some diagnostic upfront to decide where to focus first. Second element in this infinite loop, in the performance control system, is the human dynamics, right? It's to set up the KPIs that are smart and understandable, and making sure the KPIs are being discussed and are translated into specific actions. That's what we would do on the left side of this infinite loop. It's about defining who's responsible for what needs to be discussed in what meetings, and how the dots are connected. And then last but not least, the digital dimension. Obviously, with energy today, best performers have lots of data, lots of analysis, metering, monitoring, and digital will be an important guidance for taking the good decisions. So these are, in a way, complex projects to translate to become then simple realities in the daily operations. Let us now maybe go to the conclusions, and then we will be glad to answer your questions. I don't see the chat, but don't hesitate to use it. In a concluding way. So what do we see? What do we want to communicate? What are the key considerations in an active energy management journey? Like all of you, or like the majority in this call was saying at the beginning, when we polled you for your feedback, it starts with vision. It starts with vision. Vision is a critical factor of success to make sure the efforts are leading to results. The efforts of implementing such a system must be part of an overall corporate vision to mobilize around energy efficiency, involving all hierarchical layers. Secondly, I would say the alpha and the omega, but that's not really correct. The alpha is about data. Data, not necessarily thousands of meters to measure everything which is moving in the company, but focus from the start on the right data. How deep you need to go, which are your equipments, which are your critical components, be it producers of energy or consumers of energy, and right away make those data insightful. It's better to start with a small set which leads to simple energy performance indicators that everybody understands, than to start with very broad implementations which then lead to an overload of data and basically would kill the adoption of the project. So data is important. Knowing which data to use and doing something with it is even more important. And to do that, to interpret data and to select the right ones, the cross-functionality dimension is critical. Energy is a complex field. It involves many people, and it involves many disciplines to get it right. It involves operations, the control room, your maintenance, your procurement. So it is important from the start to think cross-functional when you set it up or when you want to improve it, to make sure you get relevant data and to make sure these relevant data are translated into the actionable indicators and are being discussed with cross-functional teams. This is also one of the things that came out of your feedback, and which is also what we see. It's important to connect management and the shop floor on this. As we all know, people will work most on what management is interested in also. And so it's really critical that this is not, it's neither a top management project nor a shop floor project. It is a company project in which everybody's active and in which everybody knows the others are also active. So important to cascade your management objectives to the floor and to cascade up again the insights that are generated on the floor, and to show in the organization that improvement measures are taken seriously and reward also, obviously. And then last but not least, this is not a one-shot journey. This is a continuous improvement journey. So maybe I can make the connection with our first webinar, which is not a one-shot either, but more, right? In the first webinar, we zoomed in on the CapEx projects. Through a walkthrough, we can identify the top projects that will have a really big impact on your energy consumption or your CO2 production. Here, the active energy management is more about continuous improvement. It's through the data, identify the losses, have your organization, your people reflect on it, and then keep on going. And so the best moment to start was yesterday. The second best moment to start is today. That's really the message what we want to bring in this webinar. So that brings us to the end of the formal part which we had prepared, and I will now listen, because I don't see the chat box in front of me, and maybe one of the people that are following this from EFESO and DB can let us know if there are questions.
Thank you, Erik. A question that I got from one of the participants was towards Robbe and Piotr. When explaining their cases, it was very clear that there was an impact, but they wondered what the main challenges were in implementing this, because we were talking about mobilizing the organization, and it seemed very easy. But what were the key challenges? And maybe Robbe, you can start, and Piotr, you can take over from there.
Okay, thank you for the question, Glenn. Well, to spot the potential, it wasn't hard, obviously, but the hard part was to change the behavior of the operators itself. They were really used to their way of working, so we really needed the management support to be in place. Also, the dashboard was a very helpful tool, because the dashboard showed the losses, but also showed their improvement over time. So they really got rewarded when they started to work in other ways that were more efficient. But I can imagine that in a lot of places, people work the same way for during a long time. So yeah, you really need the hierarchical alignment, and that often is the hard part here.
In the case of pumping, this was the pretty tricky one, because the operators were highly convinced that they are doing a great job because they have everything monitored, the parameters are there, and by lowering of the capacity load of the pump when it's not needed, they are making more money for the company than when we said that actually not. And it included, of course, going deep into physics and going deep into the characteristics of the pumps and explaining this deeply. But at the end, it occurred that if we would just make a little change of the SCADA system that they were working, which can be used as an energy management system as well, showing them the value of the energy per cubic meter of water pumped, which is quite basic if we are talking about efficiency of the pumps, but not often used on the SCADA systems. This is something that was tricky to convince them that actually adding just one label, it will show them how they are operating the pump. And of course, this is something that we meet in a number of companies. And of course, reflecting on what Erik said in the last sentence, that connection between energy efficiency and large CapEx investments, this is something that also is worth mentioning, because If we are trying to put one simple label, it will cost a few thousand euro, probably maximum, because we need to go to the code, we need to put it in the table, of course. But if we are doing investment for 10 million euro, not having this one label for a few thousand might cost us a lot because we are not able to monitor the real parameters and the real efficiency of the investment we did. And this is also something that we are, of course, trying to push through the number of cases we are doing and a number of designs we are doing. But this is something that is really challenging to really show that we need to think about these investments and we need to think about putting new stuff into the companies. Very holistic. So we need to remember about the investment itself. We need to remember about the efficiency. We need to remember about the CO2 savings that are, of course, coming from it. But at the end, we need to know that when it will come to report, we need to be able to show without any doubt that the effect is there. And this is also something that is worth mentioning when you are setting up something new, that it might be better to have the active energy management system installed already, so we are able to show the reference values and the new ones that are coming after the after doing the change. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Piotr. Thank you, Robert. I have the impression there are no further questions left, in which case I think we will conclude this webinar. As we said, you can receive the images that have been recorded if you ask us. If you want to continue the discussion bilaterally, don't hesitate to reach out. And that leaves me only by saying thank you to everybody who was in this call. I also make a call for action to all of you because I think our planet needs this energy and the energy reduction and the CO2 reduction. We all need this. So call for action. Thank you very much for having been here, and we see you next time.